Deadpool and Nick Fury in a movie? Buddy action comedy movie? That's R rated? This can't go wrong. The Hitman's Bodyguard stars Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson. It was directed by Patrick Hughes, the director of The Expendables 3. And this movie is about a hitman, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who needs the protection of Ryan Reynolds' bodyguard character to go to a destination. Doesn't really matter. The point is, it's a road trip movie. Ryan Reynolds is bodyguard. Samuel L. Jackson's a hitman. Buddy cop road trip movie. R-rated action. And unfortunately, this movie kind of sucks. First of all, this is supposed to be a comedy, and it's not that funny. There was a couple moments where I did chuckle. At the end of the day, it was very few and far between. This movie also is supposed to be an action movie. And while there is a couple action sequences that are pretty great, it's a 2-hour long movie. There are other action sequences that are so chop edited that you can barely tell what's going on. And I hated some of the action sequences in this movie. Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson are great. They're playing themselves, essentially. They're, the same people that you always see in a movie. Ryan Reynolds is kind of sarcastic, a little too uptight. Samuel L. Jackson's dropping the F-bomb every 3 seconds, and is Samuel L. Jackson being loud and awesome. And their chemistry's great. But again, there's nothing too funny about this movie. Movie is way too freaking long. It is 2 hours. It could have easily been an hour and a half. And at the end of the day, it's kind of a bunch of nothing. It's very convoluted. There's these flashback moments that are unnecessary. There's so much extra stuff in this movie that just does not need to be there. And Gary Oldman, who plays a great villain, except this villain is in a different movie. He's super serious. He goes around, literally shoots a child in this movie. So the tone of this movie is just all over the place. There are moments that it's very serious, very dark, and then there are other moments where it's trying to be funny, but it's not funny. There's some decent action sequences. They're not all terrible. There's some decent action sequences in this movie. But at the end of the day, the tone is all over the place. The movie's all over the place. The action choreography is not the greatest, in the sense that I can't always tell what was going on. The characters were a little bit ridiculous, over the top sometimes. Yeah, the chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson is great, and that does make the movie all right and something you can watch. Definitely not a movie I would see in theaters. I'm glad I didn't go see this in theaters when it was out. I saw this at home. And at the end of the day, it's just a movie. I remember watching this back in 2017, and I had to rewatch it again for Hitman Bodyguard's Wife because I couldn't remember a single thing about the first one. This movie is so forgettable and so much like other movies that we've seen, just not as good as other movies that we've seen. Salma Hayek is also in this movie. She plays Samuel Jackson's wife. She has very brief role in this movie. And I liked her. I think that was the most comedic parts about this movie was Salma Hayek's character. In every scene that she was in, she was kind of stealing it. Other than that, though, this movie is kind of nothing. I honestly would prefer to see Samuel Jackson and Ryan Reynolds hang out during an interview and watch that instead of watching this entire 2-hour movie where Gary Oldman is in a completely different movie, barely in it, but he's the bad guy. And then Samuel Jackson and Ryan Reynolds just hang out, not really doing anything funny. So for me, this review is kind of short because it's kind of nothing. The plot is all over the place. It's not funny. The action sequences aren't that great. In the end, I'm not going to say this is the worst movie ever. There's enough here that you could probably have a good time. If you're one of those people that like Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson and you're going to turn your brain off and not going to care at all, you might enjoy this movie. For me, though, it's overly long, overly convoluted. And at the end of the day, I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 10. So, I will be going to see Hitman's Bodyguard's Wife, whatever it's called, Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. I don't know what it's called. It's a confusing title. Comes out this week. I plan to be seeing it, and I will have a review up for that as soon as I can. I'm actually a little bit more excited for the second one. I'm hearing this one's a teeny tiny bit better, and it's got more Salma Hayek, which I like Salma Hayek in the first one more than anything. So I think the second one could be a little bit better. Comment below, let me know what you were thinking though. We'll see you next time.